As the weather starts to get warmer, there are a lot of races happening around the state, and one thing that really goes into it is the mentality of it all. So joining me today is sports psychologist Pam Landry, who's going to offer you a few simple tips on how to mentally prepare yourself for those runs. Pam, a lot of it, is physical, but more often than not, most of running is very mental. So what exactly do you recommend for people to do when they want to prepare for some competitive runs?
Absolutely, Erika. The mindset is a huge one, and the athletic mindset, although it's fairly unique, can be developed in just about anyone, from a novice all the way up. And some things that I typically see when working with serious competitors, first of all, they're very resilient. And although they have the same setbacks and frustrations as the rest of us, they are very good at developing an action plan to take care of those challenges. Right. They also tend to see opportunity in adversity, and they're able to turn things around and make them work for them. Right. And thirdly, I'd say they typically take a great deal of responsibility in believing in themselves. Regardless of the support systems that they have, they realize that ultimately it comes down to them, and they have that type of attitude. And that's something that all of us can adopt in any type of sport competition.
And how would you say that's kind of possible? Because a lot of times people really kind of feel as though they reach a plateau in what they're doing. How do you get people to strive to continue to do better and really better themselves overall as an athlete?
I think one of the easiest ways to accomplish that is for any individual to simply redefine for themselves the purpose of why they are competing. When they can get back to answering that why question, it becomes very personal, and they're able to dig down and figure out, if they are caught in a plateau, how can I move beyond this?
And now we mentioned with all these different races happening, for example, the race in the park, there's usually a bigger meaning behind it. So how do you think that kind of inspires people as their why when they actually have a reason to be racing for something?
I think certainly, and I know this from my own experience, when you're racing for a bigger cause, fatigue, whether it's physical or mental, any type of nagging little injury suddenly becomes inconsequential when you can refer back to that big why question and know that you are certainly part of a much bigger picture.
And now let's break it down, I guess, very simply. What do you think are the biggest issues athletes, not just necessarily in fun runs and competitive runs, but overall, what are the problems that we all face? If you could pick three kind of main things.
I would say most athletes tend to struggle with confidence, with anxiety issues pre-competition, and certainly with focus, particularly during longer events like a marathon, right, where you're out there for quite a long time. Right. And concentration and focus is quite necessary.
How do you recommend improving that?
In those instances, there are certain things that you can do. Certainly with the confidence issue, again, revisiting your foundational beliefs as far as an athlete often will bring people back to their core reason for competing. That's a very basic approach you can take. For anxiety, again, you can go back and review your training, and just have faith in your training. You can look at your training logbook and know that you've put in the miles, you've put in the lessons, yeah, and the work, and that's a simple step you can take. With focus and concentration, you can certainly simulate the racing conditions in your training. Whether it be training on specific routes that have the same hills, the same terrain, the same weather, and that will help you really, really focus when the time comes.
And we talk about the preparation kind of has set you up for the run itself or the event. What happens when there's so many other competitors that are actually there and you start to maybe change yourself when you get in? Maybe you start out running a little bit faster. How could you kind of control yourself to remember exactly how you've prepared?
I think that's a very common issue for many, many athletes. particularly with running, in order not to get affected by the varying paces around you. You don't want to be sucked into a pace that is way too fast for you, and when your adrenaline is running high. So I often ask my athletes to race within, meaning just quietly stay within your own head, your own body. Put blinders on if you need to, in order to stay on your own path there, particularly at the start.
Now, I know today is a pretty cold and rainy day, and we've been hit with a very tough winter and spring already. So how do you actually prepare when the weather's been so kind of crummy out there? How can you get yourself to be motivated enough to actually go out there and train for these events that you know you need to?
Again, Erika, I would say it goes back to tapping into that why question. When the weather is horrendous and the last thing you want to do is get out the door, if you can remind yourself what made you want to train for this event to begin with. Is it important enough to you to get out there and to be uncomfortable? And also, if you can connect with a training group, sometimes that is very helpful to have accountability to another group and to motivate each other to get out the door.
Great. Anything else that you kind of feel is really important for athletes to know as they prepare to embark on this season that's coming ahead? The weather's going to get hotter. There's going to be a lot of different factors that go into their training. How can you make sure you do the best job you do every day?
I think particularly if you're just starting out and getting into the summer and perhaps have not been too active during the winter, the first step is to be completely honest, to assess your current fitness level, not the level that you aspire to or perhaps that you were able to do last spring, and to work from there. Take it very, very gradually, be realistic. Again, perhaps connect with the group to have some checks and balances with yourself so that you know that you're not taking on too much too soon.
And we talk about the support. Do you recommend really kind of staying within yourself the whole time, or do you encourage having that support system to really talk to people and have kind of accountability from others to making sure you're staying to your plans?
I would say both of those systems work. It's a very good thing to stay within yourself, particularly during any event, until you feel you are on a nice automatic rhythm. And then at any point during the race when you feel like, okay, I've got this under control, my body is under control, then it's often nice to, perhaps reach out to other people around you and to become more involved with the whole environment and racers around you too. And that also helps to motivate you and keep your spirits up there.